Hey everyone, don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future deep dives. We're diving into the world of stocks today. VIR Biotechnology, to be exact. They're a clinical stage immunology company, and we're basing today's analysis on a deep dive report all about VIR. What makes VIR stand out?
They're using some really cool tech to fight against some really tough diseases. We're talking infectious diseases and even cancer.
It's like they're giving our immune systems a major upgrade, and that's what really sets them apart in the pharmaceutical industry. But their journey to get here hasn't been a straight line. They've made some interesting moves like shifting more towards cancer treatments, and they also went through a big staff reduction recently.
Yeah, it really makes you think about what's happening behind the scenes at VIR. Those are some big changes that show just how many challenges and possibilities VIR is facing.
So let's break down how their business works. They're focused on research and development, or R&D as it's known. So that means they're not selling any products yet. The revenue comes from collaborations with other companies and contracts and licenses and grants.
A good example of that is their collaboration with GSK for a COVID-19 therapeutic program. It really shows how much collaboration happens in the pharmaceutical industry.
Absolutely. But it's important to remember that the pharmaceutical industry is a long game. It takes years of research and clinical trials and tons of regulations before a new drug can be sold.
And that's what makes VIR so interesting. They have some serious strengths, but they also have some challenges that they'll need to overcome. Let's start with the good stuff. One of their biggest strengths is their focus on immunology. They're not just treating symptoms, they're trying to get to the root of diseases by working with the immune system.
And that ties right into their innovative technology platforms. And when you combine those platforms with their strong R&D capabilities and their experienced leadership team, it gives them a real edge in the industry. Plus, they're committed to ESG factors, which is really important to a lot of investors.
One area where VIR has the potential to really dominate is treating HDV, that's hepatitis delta virus. They're seeing incredible results in their clinical trials with an elebsiran-tobevibart combination therapy. We're talking about a 100% virologic response rate, which basically means the virus becomes undetectable in patients' blood.
Wow, that's amazing. But we can't forget about the challenges. VIR is operating at a loss right now, which is normal for a company at their stage. They're still investing heavily in R&D and they're not selling products yet.
Exactly. And their success depends on them getting those products developed and approved, all while competing with giant pharmaceutical companies. It's a tough industry.
Speaking of navigating tough situations, let's talk about VIR's leadership. The CEO, Marianne De Backer, has 28 years of experience at Johnson & Johnson, and that includes launching new medicines. So she knows what it takes to bring products to market.
And she's been busy bringing in a new executive team with tons of expertise in immunology and infectious diseases, and most importantly, commercialization. They're focused on turning research into real-world solutions.
It seems like they're committed to the long game, and they're making strategic moves. One thing that's really promising is their commitment to R&D. Even with financial pressures, they're putting innovation first, which is a good sign for their future.
Absolutely. It shows they're not just going for short-term wins, they're investing in groundbreaking therapies. So let's look at the numbers. In 2023 and 2022, they had a strong cash position of $1.19 billion, but their revenue is currently at $86.2 million.
And that revenue decline is mainly because of expiring contracts and how they record grant revenue, which can be up and down. But when you look at their quick ratio of 7.81 and their current ratio of 8.94, those are some healthy numbers.
Those ratios tell us that VIR is in a good spot to pay off their short-term debts, which gives them the flexibility to keep investing in R&D without worrying too much about immediate financial problems. But we do need to acknowledge that their operating costs are high, mainly because of those R&D expenses.
So they have the cash. But can they turn their promising research into profitable products? And how do you even value a company like VIR? With so much potential, but also so much uncertainty. That's where intrinsic value comes in.
You got it. Traditional valuation methods don't really work with a company like VIR. You have to consider their pipeline of therapies, their competitive advantages in immunology and technology, and their strong financial foundation. All of those things will impact their future earnings, which is what really matters in the end.
It's like valuing a startup. You're betting on future success, not their current balance sheet. So what do investors think about VIR? Are they optimistic or pessimistic?
It's a mixed bag. There's a lot of excitement about their potential, but there's also some healthy skepticism. If you look at insider trading activity, it's been pretty balanced, which means even people close to the company aren't sure what the future holds. And that's understandable given all the risks involved with drug development. But what's interesting is that most analysts have positive ratings on VIR. They have a moderate buy consensus. And their price targets are suggesting that there's potential for the stock to go up, so the market might be undervaluing VIR at the moment.
So that means there might be a good opportunity here for investors who like to take on a bit more risk and who really believe in VIR's vision for the future. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's see who's backing VIR already. What's their ownership structure like?
It's a good mix of institutional investors and insiders. We have big names like BlackRock and the Vanguard Group and State Street Corp, all holding big chunks of VIR. And these aren't just everyday investors. They're institutions with a ton of resources and knowledge. They analyze companies really carefully before investing.
That's a big vote of confidence from some heavy hitters. And we can't forget about the insider ownership. The CEO and the board members all have skin in the game, which means their interests are aligned with those of the shareholders.
Exactly. They're not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk. Now let's step back and look at the big picture with the SWOT analysis, which breaks down VIR's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Let's start with their strengths. They have a clear focus on immunology, and they're developing innovative therapies. They have a robust pipeline of products, and they're working with top research institutions and pharmaceutical companies. And they also have a strong management team with a solid track record.
That's quite a list of strengths.
Yeah.
But we need to be realistic and acknowledge their weaknesses too, like the fact that they're operating at a loss, which is common for a clinical stage company.
Yeah.
But it's still something to think about. They also really depend on their drug development being successful, which is always risky. And they have to compete with those big established companies we talked about.
Those are definitely some big hurdles to overcome. But the opportunities for VIR are also exciting. They could become the market leader in HTV treatment, which is a huge area with an unmet need. They also have the potential to expand into other areas like oncology, which they're already looking into. And the demand for innovative therapies is only getting bigger, which plays right into VIR's strengths.
It seems like they're in a good position to take advantage of those trends. But as we mentioned earlier, there are always threats to think about. Like if clinical trials fail or get delayed, that could be a big setback. They also face regulatory challenges and have to get approval from the FDA. And there's always the risk of something unexpected happening, like problems with safety or efficacy showing up in their studies.
And they need to be mindful of the potential challenges of collaborating with other companies and making sure they have enough manufacturing capacity and enough patients for clinical trials. Plus, there are always external factors to consider, like new infectious diseases emerging, like what happened with the Wuhan coronavirus pandemic. That kind of thing could really throw a wrench in their plans.
You're right. They need to be ready for anything. So we've talked about VIR's business model, their financials, their leadership, and the risks involved. But now the big question, is VIR a good investment? To help us answer that, let's see what the legendary investor Warren Buffett would think.
The Oracle of Omaha. He's the king of value investing. So analyzing VIR from his perspective will be really insightful. Buffett always asks these key questions when he's evaluating a company. Does it have promising long-term prospects? Is the business model easy to understand? Are their financials strong even if they're not making a profit yet? Is the management team ethical and competent? And finally, is the company potentially undervalued by the market? So let's apply those questions to VIR.
Sounds good. Let's start with the first one. Does VIR have promising long-term prospects? What are your thoughts?
I would say yes, definitely. They're focused on immunology and trying to address important unmet medical needs, like in HDV, hepatitis B, HIV, and cancer, which shows they're on the right track for long-term growth. These are global health problems, so if VIR can create effective therapies, the impact will be huge.
And their second technology platform is all about artificial intelligence. It optimizes monoclonal antibodies for specific diseases. It's really cutting-edge stuff.
Yeah.
It could revolutionize how we treat certain illnesses.
They're combining the power of the human immune system with the precision of AI. That's a winning combination.
All right, next question. Is VIR's business model easy to understand? I'm not a financial whiz,
Yeah.
but it seems pretty straightforward to me.
I agree. Research and development is their main focus. And they make money through collaborations, contracts, licenses, and grants. So the science behind their therapies might be complex. But their business model is pretty clear.
And the third question, are VIR's financials strong? They're not profitable yet, which is something to remember. But they have a strong cash position. And their financial ratios show they can handle their short-term debts.
Right. And they're still committed to R&D even while operating at a loss, which shows they're focused on long-term growth instead of short-term profits. That's classic Buffett thinking.
Now, what about their management team? Are they ethical and competent? I think we can safely say yes.
Definitely. Marianne DeBacker has decades of experience at Johnson & Johnson, and she's put together a team of experts who know how to develop drugs and bring them to market.
So they have long-term prospects, a clear business model, decent financials, and a capable management team. But that last question is always the hardest. Is VIR potentially undervalued by the market? It's really hard to say for sure.
Yeah. Biotech valuations are tough. It's hard to predict if research will be successful. But remember, Buffett is all about finding hidden gems, companies with intrinsic value that the market hasn't noticed yet.
So if VIR's therapies work out and they overcome all the challenges, their current stock price could look like a steal in a few years.
That's the potential upside. But it's important to be aware of the risks. Drug development is unpredictable, and their research could hit a wall, or a competitor could beat them to the finish line.
It's a good reminder that all investments have risks, especially in biotech, which is such a fast-moving industry.
Absolutely. But for investors who are in it for the long haul and who can handle some risk, VIR Biotechnology might be that hidden gem that Buffett would love. They have an important mission, a strong team, and the potential to really improve global health.
Before we go any further, don't forget to check out our YouTube channel and tell us what your top stock picks are. We might even feature them in a future deep dive.
We love hearing from you and exploring new companies together.
Now back to VIR. We've looked at their potential through Warren Buffett's eyes, and they definitely have a lot going for them. But to really know if VIR is a good investment for you, we need to dig into their pipeline, their competition, and what the future might hold.
That's exactly what we'll be doing in the final part of this deep dive. We'll explore the specific therapies they're working on, analyze the challenges they face from competitors, and try to get a better picture of what VIR might look like down the road.
All right, so we've talked about how VIR has a lot of potential. But potential doesn't always turn into profit. Let's be realistic and discuss the risks for investors. What are some things that might make someone think twice before investing in VIR?
Well, the biggest one is that they're not making money yet. They're spending a lot on research and development, and there's no guarantee that those investments will actually pay off. That's how it is in biotech.
Yeah, it takes a long time, and it's super expensive to develop a new drug and get it approved. And even if their research is successful, they still have to deal with competition. They're up against some of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world, companies with tons of resources and a long track record.
Exactly. Like GSK, who we talked about earlier, they have way more money and they've successfully launched a lot of drugs already. VIR is going to have to be really smart and innovative to compete with them.
And then there's the FDA. The approval process is tough and unpredictable. Even if VIR's therapies look great in clinical trials, there's no guarantee they'll get approved by the FDA.
That's so true. Regulatory hurdles can really hold back any biotech company. And don't forget about those external factors, like a new pandemic popping up. That could throw off their whole plan, delay clinical trials, force them to spend money elsewhere.
So there are definitely some risks to think about. But let's look at the other side. What makes VIR such an exciting opportunity? Why should investors be excited about this company?
I'm really excited about their focus on immunology. They're not just making treatments, they're trying to boost the immune system's ability to fight disease. That could change medicine as we know it.
Exactly. And they're not just going after any diseases. They're focused on some of the biggest and toughest ones out there, like HDV, hepatitis, B, HIV, and cancer. These are huge global health issues. And if VIR can make therapies that work, the market is enormous.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about their amazing management team. Marianne DeBacker's experience at Johnson & Johnson is so valuable, and she's built a team of experts who know how to develop drugs and get them to market. Plus, their financial situation isn't bad. Their cash reserves give them the time and resources to keep investing in their research and deal with any unexpected problems.
So it's a classic high-risk, high-reward situation. There are some challenges, but the potential payoff is huge. It all comes down to how much risk an investor is comfortable with and how much they believe in VIR's vision. Okay, so let's bring it back to Warren Buffett. We've talked about the risks and rewards, but does VIR really fit the description of a Buffett investment?
Let's go back to those key questions. Does VIR have promising long-term prospects? I think we can say yes. They're focused on immunology and tackling major diseases, so they have a good foundation for growth.
Their business model is also easy to understand. Research and development leads to innovative therapies. They're not profitable yet, But they have a healthy cash position, and they're managing their finances well.
And we agreed that their management team is ethical and capable, with a proven track record. So the last question is the toughest one. Is VIR potentially undervalued by the market? It's the big question. And unfortunately, we don't have a magic crystal ball. Biotech valuations are really just educated guesses, based on predictions that could change.
Right. But Buffett is all about finding those hidden gems, companies the market is overlooking.
And based on everything we've talked about, there's a good case to be made that VIR fits that description. Their potential, their strong team, their financial stability. It all suggests they might be trading for less than they're really worth.
Absolutely. So while nothing is certain in biotech, VIR does seem to meet a lot of Buffett's criteria. They have a competitive advantage, a strong leadership team, and the potential for long-term growth.
But investors need to remember that this is a long game. You need to be patient and comfortable with some ups and downs, and you need to believe in what VIR is doing.
This is about investing in the future of medicine and hopefully seeing those investments pay off down the line.
We've covered a lot today, from VIR's amazing technology to their financials and potential for growth. We even used Warren Buffett's wisdom to help us analyze them. It's been a great deep dive, and I hope our listeners know more about VIR Biotechnology now and are excited about the possibilities they offer.
Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future deep dives into other awesome companies.
And tune in for our daily stock deep dives. At 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll be uncovering more hidden gems and giving you the insights you need to make smart investment choices.
If you want to see the sources we used today, you can find links in the episode description below. Thanks for joining us, and happy investing.